Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars and Auto House of Naples on, well, here it is. The weather that I have been waiting for has frankly finally arrived. It is here. I can't complain. It's gorgeous. It's 59 degrees this morning. It's the perfect shorts with a sweatery top on kind of weather that you remove later when it does heat up and get, it's going to be like 81 today, which to me is warmer than I want, but this is way better than 81 at first thing in the morning with 100% humidity. In fact, the car can sit outside all night. It's not dripping with condensation. It is just absolutely lovely. It's a nice, crisp Florida November morning, and I am chipper and recharged. Well, that's not true. I feel like shit. But I mean, the weather I can't complain about, nor the animals. They're missing. I mean, I don't know if it's just too cold for them. I doubt it because it really isn't that cold. Maybe they're plotting an attack and they're all, who knows, behind those bushes over there, sort of having a little hobnob until they can do a runaround, outflank me and attack from both sides. It's possible. You just don't know. Even the birds have been quiet. But I'm going to take these little small gifts and go with them and be happy and move forward. So we're also going to try to do a reasonably short video. No, I am not trolling people. I heard that in the comment section where, I say it's going to be a short video and then it's 130 minutes long. No, it happens organically, and I wish to God it didn't. So I'm going to try again. There's a good reason this could be a short video because I frankly just did. Well, anyway, look, we're going to get into it. Long story short, I am delivering here, okay? I am delivering. I heard the general dissatisfaction after teasing a Cordoba, unintentionally, by the way. I didn't mean to tease it for months. I just couldn't get the damn thing ready. It had a running issue at first that one of the mechanics didn't quite figure out, and then another mechanic who sort of looks at simple things found out that one of the spark plugs wasn't screwed in. So the thing sat around for months for no good reason at all, and I tortured people and it's coming, I swear. And then when it did arrive, it was this second generation Cordoba that frankly nobody wanted. I mean, there was a few, and people were very nice about it, but for the most part, what people want when they hear the name Cordoba is a first gen. So the one that I did last month was not what people wanted, and I'm here to make up for it today. And I traveled a great distance to go get this car, so I hope you people friggin' appreciate it. I really do. Oh, I'm kidding. Doesn't matter. I'd have gone anyway. And, honestly, since I went over the first genre in the video last month, some of this is going to be repetitious, and the hell with it. There's not much that I can do about it, so we're just going to move forward on the damn thing. And this is it. So this is a first year, even. First generation Cordoba. It's built on Chrysler's intermediate B-body platform that it shared with a whole pile of other Mopars, including the Charger, the Plymouth Fury, the Monaco, the Coronet, and the Chrysler 300. It is not the first time that a Chrysler product wore the Cordoba badge, and you see it there on the fender, although it is the first time it was an actual model. But there was a 1970 New Yorker that had come out in a whole... How the hell can you... It had Cordoba as a trim package, and it was very brown. Let's just put it that way. It was hearkening to the whole Baroque theme and a very Spanish-looking car throughout. So there it is. They must not have liked the... well, I guess they did like it. Forgive me. I guess they liked the name a lot, because then when they came out with this car in 1975, which would be their first sort of personal luxury coupe, at least in the way that the genre is understood today, they brought that name back, and that very brown and gold Cordoba of the past was reborn. So this Cordoba, was made to compete with this new class in American cars that was absolutely taking off, the personal luxury coupe, and the Chevy Monte Carlo, the Pontiac Grand Prix, the Mercury Cougar, the Buick Regal, and a bunch of others in that rapidly growing thing. It was almost like the SUVs of the 1970s. You know, the way everybody drives some little kind of fecky SUV today. You just aren't alive if you don't have an SUV of some sort. That was true in the 70s and personal luxury coupes, and they were just setting absolute sales records. But, 1975, so where was this car released onto? Let's do a quick history, a very quick touching of base of what was going on in 1975. And frankly, not much. Really, honestly, not too much. In Britain, the Conservative Party elected their first female leader. Always ahead of the curve, those people. A woman named Margaret Thatcher, who was, by all accounts, a pretty nice lady, although it was very unlikely she was going to bake any cookies. The Vietnam War came to basically official end as the commies took Saigon and South Vietnam surrendered. Sony introduced the Betamax, and JVC at roughly the same time brought out the VHS, which absolutely started Frankly, it started a war that was probably bigger at the time than Vietnam, and certainly better covered in the press in America at that point. But the VHS ended up winning, and it wasn't just because it had a cheaper price tag. Because look, the Sony Betamax had a higher quality, but the VHS was less than half the price. But that wasn't the only reason. Probably a bigger reason, and some people might disagree with this, was that Sony did not embrace licensing their tape to pornographers. VHS did. They didn't give a shit. It was war. It was no holds barred. And, before the VHS or Betamax tape, people who were looking for this sort of thing had to go into these weird, disgusting little movie theaters, like the one where Pee Wee Herman got busted at. And I mean, it was just kind of, honestly, it would be friggin' disgusting. So this was going to be a very big deal for the porn industry. All of a sudden, tapes are out, and Sony says, no. And finding a porno on Betamax is rarer than finding a current college student with recognizable politics. It's just not something that's going to happen. Honestly, I mean, in this era of hot pants and disco and Cordobas, what the hell was Sony thinking? I mean, a couple of John Holmes films or something from Long Don Silver, it would have netted them billions of dollars in the long run. They might have won. And, it's honestly not like the Japanese are Puritans or something. So it's, who knows? But at the end of the day, Sony, despite their higher quality, went out the window and VHS became the thing. In cinema, Jaws was released. I'll admit that I couldn't even go in this. I was a kid. Look, I was 4 years old. I probably don't even remember seeing it till it was on a VHS tape a few years later. But when I did see it, I couldn't go in the swimming pool for like a month, I mean, it was already troubling enough with all the animals running around the backyard. But now when you think you're going to go inside the pool and get eaten by a shark, it's just a lot for a kid to bear. And frankly, it probably set the trend for, what would go on to be my life. So anyway, there it is. Jimmy Hoffa, Teamsters boss, former Teamsters boss then, he kind of did a runner, went missing, hasn't been seen since. And a couple of guys invented a program for a computer called the Altair 8800, which was released in 75 and became kind of the first commercially viable microcomputer. And the two guys were named Bill Gates and Paul Allen. They started a company called Microsoft, and they made a basic program for that computer, which turned out to be pretty popular. And that laid the groundwork for all kinds of little tracking microchips that would end up in viruses later. But that was a pretty big deal. On TV, you had All in the Family, you had Laverne and Shirley, you had Maude, you had the $6 Million Man, which, frankly, you spend at the grocery stores these days. And but all in all, it seemed a little bit boring. It was like 1975 was some kind of a rebuilding year. It just didn't, I don't know, looking over what happened that year, it really didn't, nothing really knocked my socks off. I didn't see much in the way of serial killers, and I didn't see much in the way of I don't know, any other kind of real excitement. So I guess 75 was just kind of one of those years. Maybe people were all worn out from the 73 oil crisis and all the other shit that went down in Vietnam and Gerald Ford, and just said, let's take it easy for a year and see what happens. And that brings us to this Cordoba. And I'm so happy to have a first gen. This one is finished in Golden Fawn, it's called. So apparently deer fans at Chrysler. And inside, I am so pleased to say it has gold Corinthian leather, which of course we'll get into in a minute. It also has a black vinyl Landau roof, and it has opera lights, and it has round headlamps, and it has weird hybrid dish wire wheel covers, and it has a 360 V8 with a torque flight. In other words, this is a proper Cordoba, and I think this is the one that people were expecting for the video the last time. Chrysler resisted making their cars smaller. They even sort of bragged about how they hadn't done it while other companies had. There would never be a small Chrysler, but you know, in the car business, never say never. And even though this was designed to be a Plymouth Sebring, circumstances came together to make Chrysler believe that they needed to have a smaller personal luxury coupe to compete with the other cars. So there it is. This became the first small Chrysler. Didn't even show up in their general brochures. They had their own brochures for it because maybe they weren't too sure if it was going to work. But work it did, even with its 115-inch wheelbase, which was considered small at the time, 9 inches less than any other car in their lineup, but actually quite enormous by today's standards. But man, it became, look at this, we got a B. Got a B coming at me. Where the hell did that go? Anyway, it became a runaway hit for Chrysler. Even in the first 2 years, supply could not keep up with demand, and it was something the company desperately needed. You know, as per usual, Chrysler was always on the edge of insolvency. I mean, it's certainly never, sometimes they did well, sometimes they did bad, but they just never had it going on in a way that made them feel comfortable. And the Cordoba came out and it sold like friggin' hotcakes, and that was something that they needed. It essentially went on to become half of their total production over the next, even sometimes more than that. So I mean, imagine that in the Chrysler division, more than half of Chrysler sold are Cordobas, and you can tell that whoever put it together, however it just came together, it worked. People liked it. They wanted it and they bought it. The name Cordoba comes from a city in Spain, and the styling, colors, and trim are meant to evoke sort of a Baroque theme with I mean, like of the 20 colors you could get a Cordoba in them, 11 of them were shades of brown, you know, including this one. It was meant to evoke all sorts of Spanish romance, but, you know, without the knife fighting. The first spokesman for the car, not very famously, was a guy named Richard Basehart, who was in some Journey Under the Sea thing in the 60s, and actually went on to being the pilot of Knight Rider. He played one of the knights, you know, the family that made the car to go kill people or whatever it was going to do. And he was also the guy that did the narration for that show in the beginning, you know, the journey into the world of a man who does not exist. And so that was one of my youth things. But anyway, he was quickly fired. I guess he was shit. And much more famously, Chrysler hired Ricardo Mantelban of Star Trek's Khan and Fantasy Island's O'Rourke fame. Where do you get O'Rourke, by the way, out of Ricardo Mantelban? I'd love to know that. That makes a lot of O'Rourke. It sounds like some Scottish gardener, you know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that was his name. But anyway, so they got Ricardo Mantelban. He was all over, you know, print media and TV media, pumping these things, talking about the car's rich Corinthian leather, which has gone on to be a theme that people even still know today. I mean, people who, they weren't even born when people were 10, they still know what Corinthian leather is. So, and what it is was the thing made up by an ad agency to describe leather that was actually made at a processing plant in Newark, New Jersey, but it just didn't sound very exciting. So on you got with Corinthian leather, and it just became a thing. So So there it is. There's the general overview of the Cordoba, what it was released to and what it would go on to be, and how important it was to Chrysler. It wasn't meant to be. It didn't last for very long. By the time 1978 rolled along, sales had started to dip. You know, Chrysler was even competing with itself. They had come out with a even smaller LeBaron that had many of the same luxury features. Other car companies were selling stuff as well. There were more personal luxury coupes. The styling kind of went south. They did a stacked headlight thing, which just didn't look good. Certainly not as good as these sculpted round headlights this car had. And things just started going south for Chrysler again until Lee Iacocca took over and the K car saved the day. So anyway, there it is. I'm going to get my crap together. Yes, code for having a cigarette break. It is not. I really do need to get my crap together. You know, there's only so long I can talk. Hopefully, I can keep this one under 40 minutes, but we'll see. And when we come back, we're going to dive directly into this particular car. So bear with me. Give me a minute, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're going to head forward. So look, when I look at this thing today, the lines, the styling of this car, you know, I can't really look at it through the eyes of a 4-year-old when it would have come out, but I can look at it now, and it looks like some kind of pimped out Dodge Aspen or Plymouth Volare or, you know, whatever the hell they had going on in the 70s and, you know, beyond. But I guess at the time, it really nailed it in the styling department of what people wanted then, at that moment in history, and that's why they all flocked to the showrooms to buy it, and buy it they did. And you know, look, I can see it. I mean, it's got a lot of chrome, it's got a vinyl top, it's got opera lights, it's got, frankly, a very lovely, I think, sculpted front end, you know, with the scalloped headlamps with the chrome rings around them, the round lights, the round parking lights, the wide grille that's continued into the bumper. You got little bumperettes down there. You know, it's kind of pretty in its own way. You've got the Chrysler script across the chrome grille. You've got that Cordoba badge, which even though the whole thing is supposed to be Spanish, I guess it's styled after some Argentinian coin. Who knows, but it is what it is. You've got sort of this V, almost a Rolls-Royce effect to the grille, the way it trails back into the end of the hood. You've got factory standard trim around the wheel wells. You've got Cordoba script of the gold coin on the side. You've got aluminum trim around the windows and windshield and at the end of the hood. And you got big bullet-looking chrome mirrors. You've got an impact strip down the side. You've got a rocker panel trim strip. There are those opera lights. There's the little opera window in the back, you know, like those Colonnade cars from GM. Very, very similar. You know, the black vinyl looks pretty good against this golden fawn, I have to say, and everything nice and chipper. You also had this factory striping. You see this weird sort of black 5 pinstripe thing that runs down the length of the car, going into those little cornering lights it has on the front and back, or at least side reflector lights. Big square tail lamps with more round shit in the middle of them. More trim striping on the back of the deck lid, reverse lights in the bumper. It's from Fasterby Thaxton, which honestly sounds to me like some kind of waspish, ultra-woke professor at Yale currently or something, but I guess that was a dealership in the 70s in South Carolina that, for all I know, is still going today. Like other 70s cars, it has a tremendous amount of space inside the wheel well. They just didn't feel the need to bring the tires and wheels out to the edge of the car the way they do today. And, you know, even though it would look really strange on a modern car, it seems to look quite normal in a 70s car. But all in all, I think a pretty handsome piece. These sort of knife-edged fenders that extend beyond the front. These ludicrous, you know, GM used fiber optics on their little, you know, turn signal indicators that they put on the front of the fenders. Chrysler used an incandescent bulb in there, and I mean, when you're in the car at night and you hit that thing and those things light up, it looks like the landing lights on a Boeing 707 or something. I mean, it is not screwing around. It is much more muted in the GM product, but there's even a chrome strip running down the center of the hood, so they did not spare any lavish trim effect on this car, and I imagine that's one of the things that people in the 70s liked. So, all right, let's just start inside the trunk. Chrysler uses what I thought was an upside-down key, but somebody explained to me that it's clever because it keeps the tumblers clean, so, whatever, I'll go with it. I looked at the window sticker. This car came with that, and apparently it had some sort of trunk tidying up package or trim package that made it all look very pretty, and I guess that's all the carpet you're seeing in there. So there you can see is the original spare tire, and some sort of original cover of it that, is all very neat. This car, I mean, it really is an incredible survivor, I have to say. I'm quite pleased to get it. You see the jack is stowed there properly in front of it. Dalton obviously had nothing to do with any of this, or it would not look so neat, tidy, and proper. For all I know, there's even air in that spare tire, which would be a miracle. Like other American cars, the jacking instructions are just shit thrown on there by some angry guy and look like crap. They're not neatly put on the way they would have been in a German car, but you know, we all got to have our things. So anyway, there it is. Have a look under the hood. And that is a big, long hood, to be sure. And all very neat and proper under there. I have to say, one of the things I really like on this car, the hood hinges. I mean, they are weird. It's definitely some sort of Chrysler thing, because I also have a New Yorker coming up, and it has identical hood hinges that roll on these little bushings all the way down. I don't know if I entirely trust them. I feel like the thing's going to come down like a guillotine and, dig into the back of my neck, but so far it seems okay. But under the hood here, my God, little sales pitch for the car. What a friggin' survivor this thing is. I mean, this has to have one of the nicest unrestored underhoods I've seen on a 70s car in a long time. But anyway, look, here it is. This is the standard engine in this car. It's a 360 cubic inch V8. It was the go-to engine for Chrysler at the time. It's essentially bulletproof. I mean, probably one of the best engines they ever made. It has a nice mixture of torque and power and, what at the time you might have said was fuel economy, although it's silly by today's standards. But a very solid, very proper engine. And in 75, I believe it was rated at 180 horsepower with the factory 2-barrel carb. And I suspect that this is what most Cordobas came with. You could also get a 4-barrel, 190 horsepower 360. Honestly, that would have been kind of a neat piece to have in here. And then there were 3 versions of the 400 cubic inch big block, 165 horse 2-barrel, which I don't know how that makes much sense unless it's much more torquey, 190 horsepower 4-barrel, and then a 235 horse 4-barrel V8. But that probably would have been expensive and rare as hen's teeth. For the people who wanted more economy, you could actually opt down and get a 318 in it with 150 horse and a 2-barrel, but I don't think many people did that. All of them were fitted to the Torque Flight. I want to say it's the A727, but don't hold me to it. And that old Torque Flight 3-speed's probably one of the best transmissions ever put in an American car. I mean, the thing just doesn't break, and it's durable as hell, and that is pretty epic today. Suspension-wise, very much like all Chryslers at the time, a tried and true thing. Upper and lower control arms, tubular shocks, torsion bars, anti-roll bar on the independent front, the leaf springs and lever axle in the back. Braking, you got discs up front with power. I'm not sure if power was standard, but I think it was. And drums in the back. You also got 15-inch radial white walls. And you could get optional wider tires with raised white letters. But, I mean, that really wasn't the thing. I mean, muscle cars were coming to an end, and, stylish disco mobiles were coming in. So I truly suspect most people opted for the white walls. But anyway, you can see like all the original stickers are still under here and up here and on the air cleaner. It's got AC, this car, which is great. The dual belt system. All the emissions are still in place. I mean, nobody just ever screwed with this thing. I mean, this is absolutely the little old lady car from, Pasadena, or in this case, Greensburg, South Carolina, or where the hell it was. So very, very cool. Even this weird, I presume this is made to seal in the engine so that the cooling fan works better, and that's still in place and looks great and supple, and man, this thing is just epic in terms of preservation. So, call that a sales pitch if you will, but damn it, look at it, it's true. So pretty neat to look under the hood of this thing. I also like that it has hidden wipers, which obviously was another luxury feature at the time, and I swear I feel that bee on the top of my head. All right, so look, I'm going to get my crap in the trunk, and then we're just going to hop in. I'm going to show you the interior, and we're going to go for a drive. So hold on for 1 minute. All right, let's do it. So one of the things I kind of like about this car is the way the fuel filler neck comes up behind the license plate, like many other cars of the era. But the way it works is nice. It goes up and almost disappears, which frankly makes it a lot easier than some of the GM cars, which had the hinge at the bottom of the license plate. And I found it hard as hell to get the filler neck in there. And when you're paying as much for gas as we are now, you don't want it to be extra annoying. It just makes it more irritating. So kudos to Chrysler for coming up with a better system on that. The chrome trim is just epic. The opera lights, the alumichrome around the windows, the big chrome ledge trim on top of the door frame, the chrome handle. I mean, it's just all very ornate and nice. Sort of a weird door jamb that raises up at the front for no apparent reason. Maybe it's strengthening, I don't know. But a little bit more aluminum trim. It had all those oil change stickers, which kind of looked decayed and weird to me there, but I left them because I think they start to tell the story of the car and just the way it is a survivor. The door panel, you can see, is nice and tight. It comes out in a weird way that I don't see in other cars. Chrysler just had its own way of doing things. I also like the frameless glass. I think that's quite nice. You see this one has window cranks. Would have been nice if it had the power, but what are you going to do? And you get another Cordoba badge there and some fake wood trim at the front of the armrest. So all very lovely. Inside, there it is. Finally, there is the damn Corinthian leather. And very good shape, very well preserved. I think the color is gold by the trim, although it looks certainly more tan to me. Maybe it's faded a little over time. You do have shoulder seat belts in this car. Must have been a safety thing by 1975. I doubt Chrysler was doing more than they had to, so very unlikely to me that it was on the cutting edge. Still has a little guide thing attached to it. Was nice. I like the push button back release. That felt kind of expensive, and people at the time must have agreed. You also get a little pocket thing at the back of the seats. Nice place to stuff a revolver, which of course you would have had in the 1970s. Probably a 38 special, because 2 million Irish cops can't be wrong. You also get this padded Corinthian leather in the back, so the Canadians are going to be chipper as hell back there. You could fit 3 of them if you want to. They've got reasonable leg room, and otherwise everything nice and proper. You know, there's no armrest, so the hell with them. They're going to have to deal with that. But otherwise, it looks like an okay place to be. I'm going to get the keys out. I'm going to hop in. Alright, so here we are behind the wheel of the Cordoba. This is the original steering wheel. Has a nice little half trim ring there, horn ring. That seems to work. I thought that horn sounded deeper when I used it this morning. But anyway, let's fire this thing up. See if the 360 comes to life. Yeah, I mean, turnkey. Turnkey. I mean, this is such a nicely tuned old carburetor. It almost feels like fuel injection. And you do get power steering as well. This PRNDM indicator on the steering column reminds me of like a Ford van or something. It's kind of weird. You could get a center console in these. And goddamn, does this look terrible. And it's not dirt the way it looks. Dalton just didn't bother shading the carpet. The interior is actually in tremendous original condition, including the factory shag carpeting. You can see the gilded trim. I mean, this thing was, oh my God, you're like a Guadalajaran pimp in this car. It's got gilded, ornate, scripted shed all around the instrument cluster. Full gauges, with the exception of a tack, were standard. So you get oil pressure, you get your generator, your alt gauge, you get your temp gauge, your fuel gauge, and of course your 100-mile-an-hour speedometer. You also have your lights and, oh shit, I didn't mean to, good, there it is, your intermittent wipers. Down here you have your climate control with your AC, heat, you know, that sort of thing, all very standard. And over here you have your AM/FM stereo. Let's see if we have anything on there. Yeah, we have commercials. You know, there it is, Duran Duran. I'm going to late for 75, but we'll take it. There is the remote side mirror for the passenger side, an option, and here's the remote mirror for the driver's side. And they actually work pretty well. You got more of this gilded shit around the dash up here. You've got your vents for the air. You've got a little digital and, you know, analog digital chronometer in the dash. Doesn't appear to be working, but I didn't screw with it. See if we can get it to move. Nah, stuck. Alright, so there it is. In here we've got a pen, which looks like stupid. The light's working. And you've got all the original paperwork with it. There's your AAA sticker, some of the stuff that came with the car, more Mopar stickers, your owner's manual. Here's the original delivery of the car to... who's the owner's? The Glein Company. So this was probably some traveling sales guy's car. Or, you know, who the hell knows? Herb Tarlick, and a nicely done green owner's manual. Here's the original window sticker, which is fantastic. It's still with the car. There you can see the clincher. So that must be the extra for the first 12 months of use. Any Chrysler dealer will without charge for parts or 75 supply, except for regardless of transportation. Okay, there's a part where it's missing, but presumably that's the beginning of Chrysler's warranty pitch, where you know, they ended up doing that 770 thing, which really helped people. One thing that's interesting is this final assembly point, Detroit, Michigan. I was under the impression that all of these were made in Windsor, Ontario, so maybe they're made there and get shipped to Detroit for final little bits. There's the identification number. You can see the color codes and trim codes. That's where I found out it was Golden Fawn. There's the base price with what it comes with, and there is the quick order package, which was easy order package, which gives you air conditioned, tinted glass, Landau roof, AM/FM radio, remote control mirror, 3-speed windshield, blah blah blah. That was obviously made to make the dealer's life easier when they were ordering these things. Gave you just enough options to sell the car, but you can see at the end of the day the car was like $6,400 plus destination charge. Imagine in today dollars, that's probably the early 30s, somewhere around that. Here's the build sheet for the car. Don't know where they found that, probably under one of the seats. And here's an original brochure that somebody must have bought to put with it. So the new small Chrysler. Lovely. All very cool stuff. Dash looks good. You got speakers up there. You got a normal looking rear view mirror. You've got some more Mopart crap talking about the seatbelt reminder system and how to start your car in case you weren't aware. And no nose, because cocaine wasn't really coming into it yet in 1975, at least not in our neck of the woods, maybe not in South Carolina, so no mirrors up there. You've got a nicely tufted buttony leather seats. You've got a nice little center console armrest, and you could put that up and fit 6 people in this car. So, you know, it really was the SUV of the 70s. 6-person coupe, probably comfortably so. Love the way, and here it is. I'm gonna do this now. Look, when I hit the signals, look how bright that thing is. I'm gonna zoom in on it even. I mean, again, look, you'd think you're at LaGuardia Airport or something. You've also got that big gold coin on the hood ornament leading the way. You can get a view of the sculpted headlight bezels and the, you know, ornate looking hood, and you get a sort of a feel for why people dug this thing. You know, it does feel like a substantial car to drive. And when I took it home yesterday, I got on a phone call, and for a brief moment, I even forgot that I was driving an old car, which is really rare, because usually I live in absolute terror of some of these cars. The way they're going to overheat, they're going to run out of alternator, they're going to pull the tires off, you know, a whole variety of things. And I didn't get any of that with this. It was just like driving any car home, and that was kind of nice. There's Dalton's crappy windshield. You know, you hammer it, it's got good torque. You know, 75 was definitely the certainly the beginning of the malaise era in terms of emissions and bumpers and safety and all that. But it was still the great unrestricted motors of the 60s that had some unintended emission shit on them. So it was very easy to pull all of that off and basically get the same, you know, maybe it had a little bit lower compression or something, but it was still the same great basic motor designed to be a free-running, lovely V8. And even when this car, you know, with all its emission shit on, it's so well maintained, or certainly so original, that you don't really feel it. You don't feel that it's in any way hampered. You know, you hammer it, it kicks down, it gives you some V8. Not a race car, it's certainly not pulling you like a Superbird would, but more than enough pep to put the car down the road. Steering, nicely assisted, feels pretty good. Brakes, nicely powered, they feel pretty good. Transmission's nice and smooth. Honestly, it's just a lovely driver. And, you know, I suppose that in order to sell as well as it did, it couldn't just be a pretty face. I don't know if that exists today, but it couldn't just be a pretty face. On the test drive, it had to make the people feel like it was a pretty good car. And frankly, it did. I mean, it just goes down the road nice. It feels like a fun car to drive. And honestly, that's what makes it kind of a neat collectible today. I mean, even though these things were prolific in the 1970s, they all got used up and thrown away. There just aren't any left. I mean, when's the last Cordoba you saw running down the street? Just isn't happening. So it doesn't matter that they sold 130,000 of them back then. You know, 120,000 of them have been vaporized, and there just aren't that many survivors running around. So it's a neat car to see, and you know, some guys of a certain age instantly remember it. I got some cool compliments. It's, you know, it's the right level of car for that sort of thing for me, because I hate attention. You know, everyone likes a little bit of a cool car, this, that, the other, and that's what this gives you. But you don't get a throng of people asking you if it's a real Cobra, you know, that kind of thing, which I just couldn't contend with. So what a fun car to drive, really, really is. And a very interesting point in time, and it's just nothing you're going to see again. You know, the 70s were absolutely unique in terms of styling and what people wanted, and it didn't last for long, and now, of course, the Europeans have taken over. So every new car just, you know, is sort of humorless and stern, and, you know, doesn't give you the same sort of joy that one of these old ornate lead sleds does. So Anyway, there it is. I'm not going to ramble on and on in the spirit of trying to keep this video fairly short. This is the first of many to come. Got a bunch of cars at the auctions I've been at. I've even got more auctions coming. But I've got to try and sell some of these damn things before I can go buy more. So if you're in the market for a Cordoba, for God's sake, call up and buy this one. For one, you're not going to be unhappy. It's really nice. For another, it's going to help me move on down the road. So this would be a very fun, aspiring, entry-level collectible, you know, with parts you can buy at Advance Auto or O'Reilly's to keep it going. It's just not a hard car to own, and it's got good air conditioning, good heat, just a great old car, and it's fun to drive, good weekend cruiser. I think you could daily this thing, to be honest, if you wanted to, but why would you? 57,000 miles, probably better to keep it that way. But anyway, if you have an interest, give Auto House of Naples a call. It's not going to be on the website immediately. I'm trying to temper that, you know, I don't want to dilute the Auto House. I mean, Auto House of Naples is not theoretically supposed to be selling Cordobas. You know, it's much more of a place to get European cars, but who wants them anymore? So if you have an interest, give them a call. The sales guys will know what's up with it, but they could probably send you some photos. And that's at 239-263-8500. Thank you so much. Keep your eyes open. We've got more stuff coming. Promise. Sorry there's been a lull in the videos, but we're back and we're gonna get at least 2 or 3 a week going. So thanks again, and we will see you with the next one. Take care.